All right. 10 seconds of silence. Is that 10 minutes? We just like
I can do 10
seemed like 300 years.
947 days later.
You guys, I'm so tired.
Megan's got a lot going on.
Yeah, so if I seem out of it, I am. If I look tired, I am.
She is.
Just pretend you don't notice.
No, we love her. And it doesn't matter what's going on.
I walked in today and Kara just immediately hugged me because she
Megan needs
tell.
all the love.
I was like, I'm so tired. And she was like, I know.
I know.
I can tell.
Look, Megan does marketing for Parole and like we've talked about before, and they're doing big things. They're going to drive out to Mayfield.
Yeah,
Kentucky.
they're going to go to Mayfield, which is where we heard from so many of you all about
checking in.
Yeah, whenever the tornado hit last week. It hit Western Kentucky, which is a couple hours. I know, it's like the Mayfield where I think that hit the brunt of it. That's 4 hours from here.
Yeah.
Not including the time change. So
right.
It's pretty far, but there were some tornadoes around. Danville got hit. My parents
lost their electric.
They lost power, which I guess I didn't realize. I was so focused on Mayfield that I didn't even realize that there were tornadoes in Danville.
Yeah.
So, which is pretty close, but still, we didn't.
Yeah,
we had a
super windy here in Nicholasville.
Right. We had a loud night. Like I could definitely. The storm woke me up a few times, but I never felt like it was dangerous.
Like Golden Doodle slept under the blankets with me. He hated it so much.
Yeah, I don't even think my dogs reacted.
Yeah,
but the next morning when I saw the headlines,
the devastation.
It was awful. So anyway, the food truck is going there it's tomorrow. So today is Wednesday. You will hear this on Friday. So
they'll be there.
The day before, the food truck will be there. So if you happen to be in the area, the Rolling Oven food truck will be there serving pizza to the first responders and the residents and everyone there. They said that they need like 10,000 meals a day. So they're reaching out to food trucks because there's no power. And the food trucks, have their self-contained.
And they're just so happy to be
involved. Oh, yeah. Everybody's excited to go.
It's so great to see community come together.
Yeah.
Like all these communities.
We immediately started asking we were like, we're going to be driving there. If you all in the Lexington area want to donate things. We announced that Tuesday, as soon as we opened, there are people showing up. It was great. It was great. This is the Witches, Magic, Murder, and Mystery podcast.
Hey guys, I'm Kara.
I'm Megan. So it was really
so Megan is sleepy. She's been doing all the marketing things for this and keeping up with all the
just trying to figure things out.
The logistics of everything is just wild.
It's one of those weeks where I feel like I'm doing a lot of things and I don't know that I'm doing any of them well
to fruition.
But they're just do the best you can, and of course it's all around the holidays when like life is busier. But it's good.
It's so good.
I'm happy and I'm thankful.
Yeah.
So,
I
have an episode for you today.
Don't you know?
And you guys, so on
the two-parter?
So it may be a two-parter. I'm going to kind of see how it goes.
Okay.
I know that generally when I pull an episode together for you guys, I have all my research together and it'll be like 8 or 9 pages. And this one is 16.
Oh.
So, but also I've thought that before.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we end up, it's
right
through. But if it seems like it's going to be too long, I'm going to split this into 2 episodes just so when you see the episode, you won't be overwhelmed by the time.
Right.
Because some of my favorite podcasts that I love, I've got a few that like I'm avoiding this episode because it's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or Let's Go to Court has an episode that was almost 3 hours. And I love Let's Go to Court. But I was like, oh man, I don't know when I'm going to have 3 hours.
That's like listening to an audiobook.
Yeah, but God, they're so
But they're great.
I love
it.
If you guys want another true, it's true crime, but they focus on the court case. Like they look for cases that have interesting happenings in court. So I love it. But so anyway, we might split it up just to avoid having any of you all be like, oh my God.
This is too much of that. We love you all. We love that you all love us, but we don't want to overwhelm you.
Yeah. If we do split it into 2, we'll release them both on Friday. So you could go right on the next one if you want to. But so what we're talking about today, and the reason why it's so long is if you all remember on my Thanksgiving episode, we did a double episode and I talked about the disappearance of Karen Mitchell.
Yes.
And the main suspect in her disappearance, I don't even know if we can call it, I don't think he's officially been named a suspect, but the main one that everybody talks about is Robert Durst.
His voice.
Yeah. Oh God, his voice. And as I told you on that episode, I didn't watch the Jinx.
Oh yeah.
I knew like the bare facts.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew he did this. I knew he was convicted of this. I knew this has happened, but I didn't know the whole story.
Right.
And I guess because I knew those things is also why I never watched the Jinx. Because I was just like, well, I've already heard everything that's in there. So I don't have time. I don't watch a lot of TV. Well, I was like, I'm going to do an episode of Robert Durst because I should know more about it. And I got interested because of the Karen Mitchell thing and other things that were mentioned.
So we did a deep dive.
Oh my God.
Can't get out of it.
There's so much.
Yeah.
The list of sources is insane. That's probably why it's 16 pages. Part of it's just the sources. So that won't even matter.
They're all a page in themselves.
Yeah. So I guess we'll get started. But I just realized I wanted to show everybody what Brooksy sent us.
Oh my gosh, yeah, pause, guys.
Okay, so yeah. We'll pause on the podcast, but
you guys are still watching. We love our listeners so much, and you all love us in the most incredible ways.
Yeah, like I don't even know what to say other than it's just so nice. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so let's think about how we've edited that little moment out of the podcast, and now we're back. Okay, so one of our listeners, before we get started, I wanted to show you guys.
Handcrafted.
If you're on the YouTube, you can see this.
Look at it, and it smells amazing.
It's beautiful. It's dried oranges and rosemary.
And cinnamon.
It's just gorgeous.
And just...
It makes me so happy.
Oh my gosh.
And also some acorns that she's painted and glittered. And I mean, she sent us each one.
Yes.
Because when you first started opening it and you pulled this out, in my head I went, oh God. Which one of us gets to keep it?
I want to keep that. And that's fine, isn't it? I got my dibs. Cool dibs.
So Brooksy, thank you so much for sending one for each of us so that our friendship didn't end over it. Because it was touch and go there for just a few seconds in my head. And then she pulled out a second one and I was like, oh thank God.
We're okay. Our relationship is okay. We're no longer on the rocks, guys. It's all right.
Okay, so I'll set this over here.
So good.
But yeah, she sent that with the nicest little note.
I know.
And the prettiest handwriting I've ever seen.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We've gotten soap, we've gotten jewelry, we've gotten...
You guys are just
body care, we've gotten witchy shit. Yeah. It's just the best.
It's funny though, it's like we're all buddies, you know?
Oh
like
gosh,
we're all, like you are my friends and we hang out every week. It's great. So
we've had so many people be like, when are you coming? Like, are you all planning to visit places for 2022? And Megan and I are just like, do you all actually want that?
Wouldn't that be fun? Yeah. Depending on when and where.
Yeah. Like, is that a thing?
And our jobs. But yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great. Yeah. And like, we do have more plans as we keep talking about for the Patreon that involves a little more hangout kind of time. So we're excited, and you know, we always at the end of every episode we're like, we love you, whatever, but like we really do. That's not just
no,
you guys are unbelievable.
That's our words of affirmation, our love language and touch, and all the things, gift giving, and all that. Like we're all the words of all the love languages, all the words.
Keep going. We're doing great. We've been recording for 8.5 minutes.
We're tired. We're both tired.
Okay. Let's be. We're very
Robert Durst.
Professional. Robert Durst.
Look
at the sources.
Oh my God.
Watch me scroll down just a moment.
3, 4,
There's too many.
500.
And I've already said all this stuff.
537 sources is
537. Okay, so I told you guys I haven't watched the Jinx,
right?
But if you all listen to True Crime Obsessed,
I'm obsessed with them.
Oh, it's great. We've mentioned them several times, Jillian and Patrick. They what they do is they watch true crime documentaries and then they recap them for you, and those are their podcast episodes. They're great.
It's incredible.
They're incredibly well produced. What a
genius idea.
They're very big.
Yeah.
So they covered the Jinx on their Patreon. So, because when they have something that's multiple episodes, it goes on their Patreon, and I of course subscribe to their Patreon. And so anyway, I have listened to their episodes on the Jinx, so that helps give me some information too.
And Jillian's like mimicking his voice is amazing. I love it.
Jillian does the best impression.
She does,
and then Patrick just laughs, and it's great.
Oh God, he squeals, he laughs, and it's amazing.
It is. There's so many people that like, I was thinking about that the other day. So Patrick Hines, his laugh, and then Brandy on Let's Go to Court. I think she has the best laugh.
Yeah.
And every time I, like, you know, in podcast groups, people will recommend podcasts.
That's immediate.
Anytime someone says Let's Go to Court, I'm always like, doesn't Brandy have the best laugh? Like, I just love her. So, I mean, I love Kristen too, but Brandy's laugh just gets me. Okay. All right. Let's go. We're going to actually do this
10
now.
minutes and here we go.
All right. Robert Allen Durst was born in 1943. His dad has passed away, I believe. So his dad was Seymour Durst, a New York City real estate magnate. Forbes estimates the Durst family fortune at about $8.1 billion.
Yeah.
I'm already doubting whether his dad is dead or alive, so I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you have to deal with this as your son if you're still alive.
Yeah.
Okay. I looked up a little more info on the Durst family just because I'm always curious about families like this. Like, how do you become this big, incredibly powerful family? And it's really impressive because it didn't take a lot of generations. Here's how it started. In 1902, a Jewish immigrant named Joseph Durst arrived in America with $3 to his name.
Okay.
He found work as a tailor, ended up becoming a full partner in a dress manufacturer by 1912.
Oh, wow.
He used his earnings there to purchase his first building in 1915.
What a smart man.
I know. And then he bought another building. And then he formed the Durst Organization, which is now one of the oldest family-run commercial and residential real estate companies in New York City.
Wow.
He acquired more buildings and then shifted focus to construction. So they built several buildings in New York City that they also still own. So that's it's New York City real estate.
Insane.
So all this time, it's all stayed in the family. After Joseph died, his son Seymour. So you're already at Robert's dad.
Yes.
So Joseph was the first, and then there's Seymour, and that's it, you know. So his son Seymour took over, and currently the Durst organization is run by Douglas Durst, which is Robert's younger brother.
Okay.
There's some drama around that, which we'll get to.
Of course there is.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's so much. Just if you hear Robert Durst, there's drama.
Drama that follows him everywhere. Or
unbelievable. I can't. I just can't. Okay. So it all started with this Jewish immigrant who had $3.
$3.
Okay. Aside from Douglas, Robert also had another brother, Tommy, and a sister, Wendy. I hear Wendy. I read her mentioned several times. I never really read another thing about Tommy. So who knows? Maybe he's just had the good fortune of having his name like attached from Robert Durst. Robert's mother died when he was 7 years old.
Okay.
She either jumped or fell from the roof of the family's home.
Oh.
So right there, you're like, oh crap, right, we're in it. This is happening.
Okay.
Later, Robert would claim that just before her death, his dad walked him over to a window where he could see his mom standing on the roof.
Yeah. I remember.
So he says he saw it happen. And later, Douglas Durst is like, no, he denies that. He's like, Robert did not witness our mother's death.
Yeah.
And honestly, who knows?
Yeah.
Robert and Douglas didn't get along well as children. They both went to therapy as kids to work on like their issues.
Okay, but good for those parents.
I had the same thought because I mean, he was born. I mean, this was in the late 40s, early 50s.
Or good for that dad if he didn't remarry. Yeah.
Right. I mean, they took him straight to therapy. Like that's amazing.
Yeah.
So they both went to therapies to work on their differences. To therapists to work on their differences. A 1953 psychiatrist report on Robert, who was 10 at the time, mentions personality decomposition and possible schizophrenia.
Oh, okay.
Already.
I didn't know it was that early.
Yeah, I didn't know schizophrenia could be diagnosed that early. I don't know why I thought that was like a later teens
like thing, personality disorder.
I'm not a doctor.
We're not licensed professionals
yet.
So. Yeah, we're working on that.
So of their child, I'm sure you can. Yeah. Of their childhood, Douglas had said that Robert treated him terribly and fought with him at every opportunity. Robert wanted to embarrass Douglas whenever he could.
Oh,
I can't imagine having that kind of relationship with your siblings. And maybe that's a brother's thing or like a same gender sibling thing. Yeah. Because my brother and I were just never like
I do remember my younger sisters back in the day when that cucumber melon Bath and Body Works perfume was real popular. Poured out half of it and filled it up with water. It was
I was obsessed with cucumber melon. Oh my God.
And then what was that? Vanilla black raspberry.
Bean. Oh yeah, vanilla black raspberry. Yeah.
Man, those are my jam. And then Victoria's Secret pink. Man, you were drenched yourself in that.
Yeah, completely.
Oh.
But yeah, my brother and I always, of course, he's 6 years older. That could play difference too. But
my brothers and I are.
We take care of each other. It's never been. I can't imagine him ever wanting to embarrass me.
Yeah.
So, and I would never want to embarrass him, you know. But anyway, that was their dynamic. So Robert went on to college at Lehigh University. He was called a loner in high school, which I don't care. Like, I don't really think that means.
Well, that goes back to like the kids that are deemed weird.
Yeah, I love them. Okay. Yeah. When he got to college, it sounds like he was less of a loner. He was on the varsity lacrosse team, and he was the business manager of the student newspaper. Then he enrolled in a doctoral program at UCLA, and while he was there, he met a woman named Susan Berman. Susan was the daughter of David Berman, a reputed gangster who operated the Flamingo Hotel and Casino in Vegas during the 40s.
That would have been an amazing time to go.
So Robert and Susan remained friends until 2000. They were described as best friends, so they were close for a really long time. We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Robert did not finish his doctorate, and he moved back to New York in 1969. Apparently, this was a secret. His family
didn't know
at the time. He didn't tell them that he didn't actually get his PhD.
So did he act like he did finish?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and he later told the woman he married. He was like, "Hey, I didn't actually finish my PhD, and my family doesn't know."
And then her nose don't say anything.
Yeah. So Robert, when he moved back to New York, he had absolutely no interest in working for his dad and the Durst organization. Sometime in 1970-71, he moved to Vermont, and he opened a health food store called All Good Things. And
which is kind of clever.
Yeah, I mean,
it's kind of clever.
I want to give him absolutely zero credit for anything. In the fall of 1971, he met a dental hygienist named Kathleen McCormack. So he met her in New York. I'm assuming these places were close together geographically because he still spent quite a bit of time in Manhattan.
Traveling back and forth.
They went on 2 dates before he invited her to move in with him in Vermont. And in January of 1972, she did.
I mean, Ryan, Soph's dad, and I, that was kind of us too. So yeah, he came over and did his laundry and never left until...
I mean, it's kind of cute. That's kind of cute. That's a cute little story.
But this isn't.
Maybe at the time, people thought this was cute too. I can't see it any other way. I can't see it any way but knowing all the context I have now.
Yeah, well, no, yeah.
The couple moved to Manhattan in 1973 after Robert's dad convinced him to come home and work for the family business. So All Good Things closed in 1973 and Robert returned once again to New York.
All Good Things came to an end.
That was good. That was real good. I'm proud of you for that. I hope you all watched the YouTube video because it's hilarious. Okay, so this time he returned to New York with Kathleen. So I just like to check and make sure
we're still recording and we're not like only 10 minutes in.
Robert and Kathleen were married on April 12th, 1973, which was also Robert's 30th birthday.
And it wasn't that long ago.
Don't get married on your birthday, though.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
No, because then, no, that's not.
I'm against it.
I am too. It should be a law.
Kathleen began attending the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, which absolutely sounds like a made-up thing.
Is that a thing?
It's in the Bronx.
It's still a thing?
Well, I'm not sure if it's still a thing, but it was in the Bronx in whatever year she was there.
Jane from the book?
Albert Einstein College of Medicine.
What?
I would totally want my degree from there, though. Like, yeah. I got my...
What hospital is going to be like in their interview?
Albert Einstein College.
Can we see your diploma, please? This interview went great. Can we...
It's just got like the silhouette of his
hair. Yeah, and it's like
a watermark.
It's like faded, but then her name and graduation date are over top of that. And they're like,
Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Absolutely.
We're like top tier here, and yes, we want you.
She's more qualified than any of us.
If Albert Einstein had a hand in this, then we're golden.
I just really, really love it because, for a lot of reasons. Was he even a doctor?
This is so crazy.
Okay.
No,
what? She was studying to be a pediatrician.
Oh.
The couple split their time between a West Side Manhattan penthouse, an East Side apartment, and a stone bungalow in the New York countryside. Yeah. So while she's studying to be a pediatrician, he's the heir to a huge family real estate fortune. Yeah. It sounds like this super charmed life.
Yeah.
Of course, it was not.
Right.
In late 1981, 29-year-old Kathy was just a few months away from earning her medical degree when she got a phone call from a woman named Prudence Farrow.
Prudence.
She is Mia Farrow's sister.
Mm.
And she's also the person who inspired the Beatles to write the song Dear Prudence.
Yes.
What is your life if you're like...
Inspiring.
I inspired the Beatles song.
Artists of all times, too.
Also, your name's Prudence. Oh. That reminds me of Charmed, you know, Prue.
Yes, yes.
So Robert and Prudence had been having an affair for 3 years, and Prudence was also married. But she called Kathy basically, she's just like, can you just let me have your husband? Can you just give him up? I just want him all to myself.
She said, I'm tired of sharing my time with him.
So Kathy told her friends that Prudence would call her from time to time, basically just to torture her. I just don't understand.
Are we in high school? Well, she did go to Einstein's college, so.
Yeah, but it's Prudence who's doing the calling.
Yeah.
So on January 6th, 1982, Kathleen was treated at a Bronx hospital for bruising to her face.
Mm.
She told a friend that Durst had hit her, and her injuries were consistent with being punched in the face. Right. But she didn't press charges. And she did, however, ask Robert for a $250,000 divorce settlement. Do you know how he responded?
In a raspy voice.
Calmly and rationally was like, yes, I'm having an affair anyway. We should totally get a divorce.
It's totally fine. I will take her. She wants me more than you anyways.
That's not what happened.
Mm.
No. Okay. His response was to cancel Kathleen's credit card, take her name off their joint bank account, and refuse to pay her tuition to med school. Yeah.
What a lovely human.
So 3 weeks later, I'm just so like
deep stuff.
This whole story. 3 weeks later, on January 31st, Kathy went to a dinner party thrown by a friend of hers. Oh man, again, this when I wrote this down, I was like, I gotta look up how you say this name. It's a woman. And it's Gilbert with an E on the end. Gilberte?
Gilberte?
I don't know. I'm so sorry. Can we not ever? We have to say it again, I think, another time.
Gilbertie?
And we're just never. Let's just call her Birdie.
Yep. Like,
okay.
Birdie.
You all understand that's who we mean. I don't think anyone else calls her that. Okay. So when we say dinner party, when I first read that, I thought it was a much more like
cocktail hour.
Yeah. It seems like it was more of a family dinner.
Oh.
Birdie's sister was there. Her parents were there. You know, but it wasn't like a huge bunch of guests or whatever. Regardless, Kathy showed up in red sweatpants, which her friend found odd because it was unlike Kathy to dress that way, particularly for a dinner party.
Right.
And while there, Kathy got a phone call from Robert, and then she left. And that's the last known sighting of Kathleen Durst.
Ooh.
That phone call was overheard by Birdie's sister, who said, I could only hear what Kathy said. I heard her tell him she was on her way home in a pleasant voice and that she loved him. And there were people who kind of commented on that. They were like, oh, so she said she loved him? Oh, and she was nice? And I'm like, yeah, that's...
I mean...
I don't think anything of that.
Yeah.
Especially if he's abusive. Like, you just do what you can to, like, stay out of the fire.
Yeah.
So, she was supposed to meet up with her friend later that night, and she never showed up. So, Robert and Kathy had been staying at that bungalow cottage in the countryside. And then she had come back to the Manhattan apartment because she had clinicals the next day. Yeah. So I guess she was like leaving to go home, and she was talking to her husband, and then she was going to come back out and meet her friend later, but she never showed up. And that's when her friend started calling the police. Kathy had told several of her friends that if anything were to happen to her, quotes, don't let Bob get away with it. And this is just like we talked about that story last time where it's like, what would you do if your friend came to you?
The witch of her murder.
Yeah. And legitimately said, like, if something happens to, like, you, what kind of state are you in that you're like, I might die, and if I do,
this is who
my
did
husband
it.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
And then also, like, how do you, like, hold that in
Yeah.
Because, unfortunately, it's still this way in a lot of places. You run to the police and tell them, and they're like, yeah, but do you have evidence to back this up?
So, yeah.
They've never reported any.
I go on a whole rant.
They've never reported any type of domestic violence. We don't have any calls or any history on this.
Yeah. There's a whole planned rant later about that type of situation.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's frustrating to me that in so many cases, there's just nothing that can be done until something truly awful happens.
Yeah.
And I know you can't predict the future, and hindsight's 20/20,
right.
But it's so frustrating.
It is. It's so very frustrating.
So according to Robert, he and Kathy had fought that evening. He called it a pushing, shoving fight. But his story is that he had put her on a train to Manhattan at 9:15, then had a drink with his neighbor, and then went to bed.
What's he gonna do with her? What?
This is, like I said, they'd been to Lake Cottage. He'd put her on the train because she was supposed to go back to Manhattan because she had the clinical. So the doorman and the building superintendent at their apartment said that they had seen Kathy there on February 1st, which was the day after the dinner party. So a private investigator looked into that later and debunked it. It's not even clear if the doorman was working that night.
Oh.
3 weeks after Robert reported Kathy missing, the building superintendent found her possessions in the building's trash compactor. Because you know how when someone you love is missing, you just immediately get rid of their stuff.
You just shove it down the trash.
You don't know where they are, and you know, and you hope, and you pray that they're going to come home.
Right.
You know how you just get rid of all their stuff. You
just don't want to see it anymore because it just breaks your heart.
Ugh, it just bothers me.
He's a nasty man.
Robert also said that later that week on February 4th, the supervisor at Kathy's school called him to say that Kathy had called in sick on February 1st and had missed class the entire week. The day after that phone call, Robert filed a missing persons report.
So did he know?
He did. So after Kathleen's disappearance, there was a lot of media attention, and Susan Berman, the friend Robert had made at UCLA, served as an unofficial spokesperson for him. So they're still buddies. In 1990, 8 years after Kathy vanished, Robert divorced her, claiming spousal abandonment. Kara's face. It's just great.
That's my turtle smile. Turtles could smile, that would.
As the oldest brother, Robert assumed he would be the one to take the helm of the Durst organization whenever his father stepped down.
Of course he did.
But in 1992, Seymour Durst appointed Douglas to take over the organization.
He said, kick rocks,
Robert. Yeah. I mean, look at the drama of Robert.
Exactly.
And also, Robert didn't want to work
he didn't want it. So what if he just wasn't being like his little apprentice and doing, like, following in his footsteps? He just didn't know the back side of the business, and his dad didn't want him to have it.
No.
He'd run it into the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, it's understandable.
So,
Seymour.
Robert blamed his brother for stealing the company from him. The company that Robert had not even wanted to work for.
Yeah.
But I guess he felt entitled to it or something because of his birth order.
He does sound awfully entitled.
He ended up estranging himself from the whole family after this. I'm sure they were like, dang, shoot, gosh.
We're going to miss him so much.
Douglas,
he writes.
Douglas and Robert haven't spoken since 1999. In a 2015 interview with the New York Times, Douglas is quoted as saying, "There's no doubt in my mind that if he had the opportunity to kill me, he would."
Oh, no.
Also, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
No doubt in anybody's mind.
No.
It's like, what do I say right now? I'm trying to be conscious of the fact that there may be plenty of you like me who didn't know all this stuff about Robert Durst. Right. But let me just tell you, anybody that Robert Durst wants dead, he's going to go after if he has the opportunity.
Yeah.
Douglas also stated that up until 2001, he had truly believed his brother was innocent in Kathleen's disappearance.
Oh.
And we'll get to why that changed.
Up until 2001, right?
Okay. According to Douglas, Kathleen had told him that she was going to ask Robert for a divorce. Whenever Robert told Douglas that Kathleen had disappeared, Douglas said his tone was very neutral. There was no great anxiety in his tone. It seemed a little strange. But still, he believed it.
It seemed a little strange.
Okay. In 1999, too far. In 1999, the New York State Police quietly reopened the investigation into Kathy's disappearance. Yeah.
We got to keep this under wraps.
Well, I'm sure because of the Durst family power.
Yep.
But they quietly reopened the investigation into Kathleen's disappearance. searching Durst's former residence, the cottage, the bungalow, and the countryside for the first time. For the first time?
I'm sorry, how many years later is this?
And it's been sold at that point. Like he sold it not long after. What do they think they're going to find?
Blood spatter evidence?
Like, why didn't they search it to begin with? Like, I don't understand. This is 1999? She disappeared in 1982?
Yeah.
Man. Power and money. It gets you real far. It's very frustrating.
And he could have had that house deep. He could have gutted that house and redone it.
So this investigation became public in November of 2000. Now, just before it became public, in October of 2000, Robert went into hiding.
Oh, did he?
His sister Wendy had tipped him off about the investigation reopening.
Oh, Wendy.
So he moved to Galveston, Texas, disguising himself as a mute woman. So when it says she tipped him off, I choose to believe, for my own sanity, that she probably just mentioned that they're asking some questions.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful that she didn't go to him and say, they're reopening that investigation, you gotta leave town. Like, I'm hoping.
Here's some of my clothes.
That's what I...
See you, bye. I've got this plan.
That's what I want to believe. It wasn't like she tipped him off to help him.
Don't talk because your voice is very recognizable.
Nobody's going to forget that.
You're a mute.
So he rented a $300 a month apartment, dressed as a woman, and pretended to be mute. Which is kind of brilliant, actually, to pretend to be mute.
Yeah, but
you want to question me?
Did he know sign language?
I doubt it.
Yeah, so what was he doing?
Just not talking?
Like Helen Keller and just like alphabet in your hand? Like
maybe? I doubt he could even do that.
Those were letters. Those were actual letters.
You guys, Kara knows some sign language.
I do.
She's multilingual. My friend Tony teaches at the Kentucky School for the Deaf. And
that's amazing.
Whenever she talks, she always talks to parents.
Oh, I
and it's always so entertaining.
Willow, because Willow so badly wants to learn
more.
Oh,
you should. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Tony's the best. Okay. All right.
Hey, Tony.
Now we're back to Robert Durst.
Yep.
Who I don't think ever did anything good for the world, and definitely didn't know sign language.
Do you think he went and got like makeup and stuff and like went all out?
Well, I mean, I think he
really played into the character.
I just think he was a cross-dresser. Like, I think he just, that was a thing that he enjoyed, that he liked doing. And then I think when he had this opportunity, when he went to go into hiding, he just thought like, oh, yeah,
I've got
this be a woman.
Time to, yeah. Like,
so
here's my opportunity.
He gave his name as Dorothy Ciner, Ciner, which happened to be the name of a girl that he went to high school with. Wouldn't you hate that if you learned later that Robert Durst had used your name as an alias?
What if he did the same likeness too?
Oh God.
Ah!
I bet he was like a super unattractive woman.
Oh man.
On December 11th, 2000. Now this is going to be annoying throughout the whole rest of the episode.
So almost a year later.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, he went on the run. The investigation became public in November of 2000.
Okay.
He went into hiding in October.
Oh, okay.
In December, though, you guys, he got married again. I didn't know this at all.
I had no idea.
It's the weirdest marriage ever. He married
when he was still living in this little tiny apartment?
Yeah. I mean, he was a mute woman.
Okay.
He married a woman named Deborah Lee Chariton. Chariton? Charatan.
Mm-hmm.
A New York real estate broker. Apparently, they had lived together at some point in the past.
So she knows where he's hiding.
But once they were married, they've never lived together as husband and wife. So Robert described it to his sister as a marriage of convenience. And in a later deposition, he said, I wanted Debbie to be able to receive my inheritance, and I intended to kill myself.
Wasn't that still in the time where if you committed suicide, you got nothing?
I don't know. I mean, see, inheritance is not like an insurance
life insurance.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But also,
what?
And this will come up again, but from what we can tell, they're still married. Right now.
Happily married.
But they live very separate lives. I mean, he's in prison, but it's just a business arrangement, I guess.
So she's still hoping she gets his inheritance like if he dies in jail?
Well,
or can his, like, I'm sure his family's like, cut him out.
Yeah, we'll get into all that.
I don't remember any of this.
There's still a lot of money for her to make as his wife.
Of course.
And I don't understand it.
No.
But also, I should say, like, the status of their relationship right now is unclear. Like, that's the most I heard said about it, is that the status is unknown.
Mm-hmm.
But it appears that there's never been a divorce and they are still married.
Right.
So, all right, where are we on time?
35 minutes.
Let's go a little bit further. Remember that friend, Susan Berman?
Yes.
Okay. On Christmas Eve, 2000, she was found murdered, execution style, in her home in Los Angeles.
Okay.
A few days later, the Beverly Hills Police Department received a letter postmarked December 23rd, before Susan's body was discovered.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So it contained Susan's address and the word cadaver. We know that Robert was in California days before Susan was murdered, and he flew from San Francisco to New York the night before her body was found. We also know that Durst had paid Berman $50,000 in 2 payments not long before her death. Robert admitted that he had sent her $25,000, but he declined to be questioned in her death.
What?
He declined.
How can you decline that?
We'd like to question you. No, thanks.
No, I'm good. He didn't even say, I'd like to have my attorney present. I'm not speaking with you, without my attorney. And he said, guys, I'm good.
I declined.
No, thanks.
Huh? I don't know. Again, is it because he's a Durst? Like, he's so wealthy? Is that it? I don't know. I'm sure he has like a million attorneys on a speed dial. So he would later say in a 2005 deposition that Susan had called him a few months before her death to say that the LAPD wanted to talk to her about Kathy's disappearance. The LAPD, Kathy disappeared from New York. Like, I don't understand. But we don't know if this is true. And I'm also not clear on whether, if it's not true, was it Susan's lie?
Right.
In order to get money?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or was it Robert's lie? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, Susan could have lied, like I said, in order to blackmail Robert. And that's why he sent her $50,000.
Yeah.
Not sure. So we're trying, you guys, I'm trying to tell you this whole story chronologically. Okay. So this is all the things we're going through.
Year by year. Because he's got a lot going on.
Yeah. The investigation's reopened. He goes into hiding. It becomes public in November of 2000. In December of 2000, Susan Berman's dead. In the fall of 2001.
My God.
Body parts were found floating in the Galveston Bay. Remember, Robert had been living in Galveston. Right. So he had homes, if you guys remember from my episode on Karen Lee Mitchell.
Literally everywhere.
The Thanksgiving episode. He had homes and offices kind of all over the place. So when we say he's in Galveston and then he was in San Francisco and whatever, like that's
what he did.
Yeah, he was all over the place. So the body parts were later identified as belonging to a man named Morris Black, who also happened to be Robert's neighbor. Robert was arrested and charged with murder on October 9th, 2001. The way they connected him to this, besides the fact of Morris being his neighbor, the body parts were found in bags, and one of the bags contained a receipt. He's such an idiot. That's the other thing. He's such an idiot. One of the bags had a receipt for like an eyeglasses purchase. Yes. And he had to go back to get those eyeglasses from the doctor. And when he showed up at the doctor, they were like, "We're arresting you." Yeah.
I forgot all about that.
Well, one of the articles I read, they were like, Robert Durst, one of his downfalls is that he's just also incredibly cheap. Like, to be as wealthy as he was, incredibly cheap. He couldn't let those glasses go. Yeah. So, he was released on bail, which was wired to him by his wife, Deborah Charlatan. Don't forget about her, even though their marriage makes absolutely no sense.
0 sense whatsoever.
She also visited him in jail and had regular phone calls with him to discuss legal strategy. So, he got released on bail and then he skipped town, missing his court hearing on October 16th.
Well, she's responsible for him.
I'm fascinated that they even
released him.
Let him, be out on bail.
On a murder charge.
Like, he had a missing wife and a murdered friend, and he was from a wealthy, powerful family. Of course he's a flight risk. Yeah. Come on. What are you doing? What are you doing?
And he has places all over.
But what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Okay.
Huh?
So they found Robert on November 30th in a supermarket in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Bethlehem. He was caught after attempting to steal Band-Aids, a newspaper, and a chicken salad sandwich. He had $500 in his pocket and another $37,000 in cash in his car. But he was shoplifting
$37,000
Band-Aids, a newspaper, and a chicken salad sandwich. $37,000
in cash.
You know how you do.
I mean, you're not paying with your credit card. It's not being traced.
That's what I'm saying. He's an idiot. And a cheapskate. Like, I'm not gonna pay. I
gotta have this chicken salad sandwich.
I got $37,500 in cash.
That's in my car. I walk into that and I don't feel like my hands are full. I don't want to reach into my pockets.
Maybe it was the most expensive chicken salad sandwich in the world.
Maybe it was the
Neiman Marcus
best
chicken salad
winner of the year. Michelin rated.
And it was like $503. And he was like, I can't.
Because I got to get these Band-Aids too. I mean, I'm screwed. So I might as well just take it all.
And the newspaper.
Yeah.
So they also found, besides the $37,000 in his car, they found 2 guns, marijuana, Morris Black's driver's license, and directions, we got to say her name again, to,
Birdie's house.
The lady who hosted the dinner party.
Yeah.
Birdie.
Mm-hmm.
To her home. Wouldn't that be terrifying too? He had directions to her house in his car.
Oh, Robert.
So they also learned that Robert had stalked his brother Douglas, visiting the driveway of Douglas's home while armed. So Robert was extradited to Texas to go on trial for the murder of Morris Black. So let's stop there for this episode.
A moment.
And then we'll start recording another one that so you can break this up and not be intimidated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've got the one whole episode, and we've got his missing wife.
Yep.
Susan Berman's murdered.
Yep.
Morris Black's murdered.
Yep.
And he's shoplifting.
We just shoplifted, guys.
He may or may not have witnessed his mother's death. What else do we have?
He and his brother are no longer talking. His sister is getting him out of things.
He's got the strange marriage.
His dad doesn't like him. Didn't give him the business.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got a marriage that he doesn't even participate in.
Yeah.
Here we are.
And we're in the fall of 2001.
And it's now 2021. And he's still got stuff going on.
Yes. Oh my God. Okay. So, all right, we'll stop there.
Brief moment.
We love you
so much.
We're going to stop and start again. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Come back for the next episode.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Hello. How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you.
I'm just a little traumatized by Robert Durst, but it's fine.
I know, you guys. This is the second part of our little 2-parter here about Robert Durst.
With the Witch's Magic Murder and Mystery podcast.
Correct. I'm Megan.
I'm Kara.
And this is one of the longer stories that I've ever done here.
But you have
there's
to
just so much.
Like, you have to figure it out.
I couldn't think of any way to do it shorter.
You can't cut.
Because if you have listened to the first episode, if you haven't listened to the first episode, go back and listen to it. This won't make sense.
Yeah, I know.
But if you listen to the first one, I didn't watch the Jinx, so I didn't know anything.
It's been a hot minute since I have, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't remember a lot.
So it's like, I had to tell you everything,
Yeah.
Because I was learning everything right along with you here.
Yes. Wasn't it like 1.5 years ago that True Crime Obsessed did this?
I don't remember.
Maybe. That's when I watched it.
The Jinx?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you listened to the last episode, you know that where we are now is Robert's wife has disappeared. Robert's best friend was murdered. And
his family is not associating with him anymore.
No.
Except for his sister occasionally.
Yeah. I'm not sure if she did much after 2000.
Yeah.
But, so Susan Berman died Christmas Eve of 2000, and Morris Black died in November of 2001.
While he was a woman.
And he was Robert's neighbor, and his body parts were found floating in the Galveston Bay.
Yes.
Robert was arrested, jumped bail, and now he's been...
His sister bonded him out.
Arrested again. No, his wife.
His wife. Oh, yeah, his wife.
His weird marriage.
Yes. I keep thinking his sister.
Yeah.
His strange wife. His strange wife, yes.
So Robert was extradited to Texas after his weird shoplifting thing to go
with
on
a
trial.
Chicken salad sandwich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He had $500 in his pocket.
$37,000 cash in his car.
and he just couldn't pay for that chicken salad sandwich.
It was so much.
Mm-hmm. So now he's about to go on trial for the murder of Morris Black.
Mm-hmm.
He's finally going to go on trial for something. I think that's good news.
It's good. Yeah.
You would think.
But here we are 2021.
So Durst's attorneys had a difficult time communicating with him.
He was mute.
And they...
Of course they did.
Maybe that's why he declined to be questioned.
I bet it is.
He's like, I'm mute.
Guys, I'm mute.
Yeah. He said that, though. Like, nope, I'm mute.
And then he just stared at him like this.
Just shakes his head. Mm-mm. You want to answer any questions?
Mm-mm. The sound and everything.
Nope.
No thanks.
So they hired a psychiatrist to work with him to try and understand what the issue was.
What?
This is where I'm about to get angry.
Oh, man.
Dr. Milton
Bradley.
Altschuler. He designed board games in his free time.
Yeah.
But Dr. Milton Altschuler examined Robert for more than 70 hours.
Oh. Like,
not all at once.
Okay, I was like, whoa.
And he diagnosed him with Asperger's syndrome.
Okay.
Saying his whole life's history is so compatible with a diagnosis of Asperger's disorder. And at trial, Robert's defense team argued that this diagnosis explained his behavior.
I actually know a couple of people with
at all.
Asperger's. And that's not what they do.
Yeah. So let's just stop here and have a quick refresher on what Asperger's is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Please.
A developmental disorder affecting the ability to effectively socialize and communicate.
Yeah.
Asperger's syndrome is a condition on the autism spectrum with generally higher functioning.
Oh, yeah.
People with this condition may be socially awkward and have an all-absorbing interest in specific topics.
Yeah, they have a hard time picking up on social cues.
They're also highly likely to murder their neighbors and dismember them and throw them in the Galveston Bay.
Yeah.
I made that up. That part's not.
No, it's not.
True.
No, I haven't seen that happen yet.
Obviously, like, I hate this. This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yes.
The defense team is garbage.
Yeah.
I hate you more and more as the story goes on. But this defense team, I'm like,
I get that you have a job. Does he keep them through this whole process?
Well, they defend him again. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I get that you have to do your job, defend your client.
This is like Harper.
Oh.
I just can't.
But I'm just like, you seriously just said Asperger's explains his behavior.
Then, like, what about the schizophrenic?
You're all garbage. You're all garbage.
Yeah, like, don't.
It didn't say, I will say that, it didn't say he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. It just said the notes mentioned schizophrenia. Okay. And so maybe that's it too. Maybe they can't diagnose it that young or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Again, not a doctor.
But you'd think they would have picked up on Asperger's that young.
Yeah.
Unless that wasn't a thing.
It may have not been known then. Yeah. So, because that would have been the 50s.
Right.
And now we're in 2000. Yeah. 2001. So, yeah.
We still got a ways to go.
Guys, Asperger's has nothing to, I mean, it's, sure, he may be on the spectrum. Sure. That's fine. I have no problem actually believing that based on what we know of him. Mm-hmm. But to act like that has
that's
nothing to
the
do
reason
with
for everything. No.
Because
they admitted they're high functioning.
Yeah. You're garbage. If you're listening, you're on his defense team, we
don't like you.
Anyway, when Durst was on trial, the only option given to the jury was premeditated first-degree murder, which was weird. Robert claimed that he had killed Morris Black, but that he did it in self-defense, which is a pretty brilliant defense move.
Right.
When they know the only option
is self-defense.
Is premeditated first-degree murder. I don't understand why this prosecutor did that. They said he did 2 mock trials. So
this is what he came up with.
He apparently felt pretty confident. That's true. And I guess he thought there's no need. This is a slam dunk case. So according to Durst, Morris Black had a key to his apartment, and Robert came home one day to find Black sitting in there uninvited watching TV.
Okay.
Robert said as soon as he came in, he could tell just from the look on Morris's face, which who knows what that means, that Morris was mad at him. Although there was like no reason, you know, like he didn't give a reason for why
he's just sitting in his lazy.
He was like, oh, he's mad. And according to Robert, the first thing he thought of was, oh, he's mad at me. Oh, he got my gun. He's got my gun from the hiding place
because he knew where it was.
So he says to Morris Black, this is all Robert. So I said, "Where's my gun?" And Morris immediately stood up and pointed the gun at him. Mm-hmm. So then there was a struggle.
Oh, he struggled with him?
And it accidentally went off, shooting Black in the face.
It was an accident.
It was self-defense, Kara.
Shot him in the face.
It was self-defense.
Then,
man, Durst admitted to using a paring knife, 2 saws, and an axe to dismember Black's body. A paring knife.
Did one of the saws get dull?
I don't know.
What's the paring knife for?
I don't know. I don't want to think about it too hard. So then he bagged the pieces and he dumped them in the bay. Okay.
He didn't
and he forgot to clear the receipts out of his bag.
He used those hefty bags. He used like a Target bag.
The jury acquitted Durst of murder on November 11th, 2003.
Thank you, jury.
Well, thank you, prosecutor. Like, what the crap?
Yeah, exactly.
So the issue here, I think, is that they never found Morris Black's head, which made it hard to dispute Robert's story about the struggle. Like, if you had his head, you could have examined it for the angle of the gunshot. Right. You could have tried to get a better idea of what happened there. But without it, there is reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
So it frustrates me that he was acquitted. But I'm also like, man, I don't know. If I was in the jury,
this would be so confusing because they probably couldn't bring in any of the other like potential evidence and stuff.
And I don't know how much they knew at that point about the stuff that happened in the past.
Yeah.
And all you've got is premeditated first-degree murder. I don't know. Like, if they'd offered something else like manslaughter or second degree or whatever, I bet they would have taken it.
Right.
But they didn't have that option.
Yeah.
So instead,
here we go.
He's acquitted.
My esophagus is like making weird noises.
Same.
This is stressing me out.
I'm still sick. Y'all surprised by this?
No.
It's not COVID.
Megan's immune system
it's crap.
It hates her right now.
It's crap lately. All right. Robert did end up serving some jail time, but it was for 2 counts of jumping bail and 1 count of evidence tampering for dismembering Black's body.
So did his wife not get in trouble because maybe it's different there, but like here, if you bond somebody out, you're legally responsible for that person, and you can get in a lot of legal trouble if that person does not show up for court.
Well, she wired him the money.
Oh,
so maybe it actually came from him. I don't know how that works.
Are you allowed to use your own bank account?
I have absolutely no idea.
I'm very confused. We need to phone some friends. I don't know. They'd be like, "Why are you asking me this question?"
No reason.
I'm just gonna call the local.
Don't make it weird.
Be like, "Hey guys, I've got some questions. You're on air, by the way." They'd be like, "Nope, goodbye."
So Robert was sentenced to 5 years and given credit for time served. So he ended up serving 3 more years in prison. In 2002, he signed over power of attorney to that wife, that weird wife of his that I don't understand. In case you guys don't remember from the last episode, like, they've never lived together as husband and wife. It seems to, he just, more like he called it a marriage of convenience. Yeah. And he just said basically he wanted her to have his inheritance, but they don't live together.
Yeah.
They do talk, but
it's all about like legal matters.
Yeah. I don't get it. The theory basically is that he married her so she could handle his affairs while he was dealing with all his legal troubles. He was paroled in July 2005. As part of his release, he had to stay near his home and get permission to travel. But that December, he made an unapproved trip to the boarding house where Black had died and to a nearby shopping mall. When he was at the mall, he just so happened to run into Judge Susan Criss, who had presided over his trial.
Oh, my God.
So she knew the terms of his parole, and he landed back in jail for violating. I love that.
Gotcha, good setup.
Yeah, when they interviewed her, she was just like,
I can't
not
believe it.
happy with, So
I love that.
He was released again in March 2006. So about that judge. In March 2015, she was asked if she believed Durst murdered Black, and she said, "You could see that this person knew what they were doing and that it was not the first time. The body was cut perfectly like a surgeon who knew how to use this tool on this bone and a certain kind of tool on that muscle. It looked like not a first-time job. That was pretty scary." Yeah. Later, when he does finally end up in prison, she cried. Like, and she was like, I felt ridiculous for crying, but also it was just a long time coming.
Yeah.
And it was a relief.
She just felt relieved. Yeah. My gosh.
Okay, so we're in 2006.
Hop, skip, and jump.
Robert's out of jail.
Mm-hmm.
He sues the Durst family for his share of the family trust.
I'm sorry, what?
Mm-hmm.
Why do I not remember any of this?
So they reached a $65 million settlement in the case. Essentially, they bought him out.
There shouldn't have even been a case.
Mm-mm. Well, I mean, I guess it's his inheritance.
Yeah.
He gets,
that's true.
He's entitled to it whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
So they essentially bought him out of the trust. So he got $65 million, which is a lot.
Insane.
But like, that's it. Like the Durst family fortune is what, 8.1 billion, I think is what they said. He won't ever get another dime of that.
Right. He just has to go invest this on his own.
Right. So any future earnings by the Durst family, the Durst organization, he's not
entitled to.
Right. I'm sure they were more than happy to buy him out.
Oh gosh, yeah.
He gave Deborah, the wife, if you're on the YouTube video, I use quotation marks every time I call her his wife. He gave her $20 million of his $65 million settlement. Mm-hmm. So in case you're thinking he got $65 million and he's just going to live off that, and now he has $45 million.
No, he's gonna.
He keeps working in real estate and buying and selling and stuff. So he continues to make money.
Yeah.
Like he lives his life and is crazy
real estate
rich.
Agency was like, yeah, we'll back you.
Yeah. Well, but like, I don't know if he was involved in a real estate agency, but he just bought and sold his own buildings. You know, he owned property.
Yeah. He just
and so that's why, even though he was cut out of the family money, he's still worth a whole lot. Mm-hmm. So Deborah still is going to make a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in 2012 and 2013, a few members of the Durst family got restraining orders against Robert. They were afraid of him, and I would have been too.
Yeah. He
was charged with trespassing in New York after he walked in front of townhouses owned by Douglas and other family members. He was acquitted in December of 2014. And the judge in that case vacated the other protection orders that his family had taken out against him. I don't know why. Isn't that weird? I couldn't find any more about it. Like, he's got a violent history. I get that he was...
And they hadn't expired or anything?
Mm-mm. Weird.
That's really weird. Because so I know that you can file like emergency protective orders or EPOs, and you can get like, they can't be within 500 distance of all these spaces, or there's just like no violent contact, but you can still have contact. Like there's so many different ones, and sometimes the judge will just like throw them out if the people just are not playing along and they just like don't show up to court and they're like, but I love you. Whatever. But a judge just throwing it out.
Just says he vacated them. Don't know why. In July 2014, Robert turned himself into police after an incident at a Houston CVS.
Did he?
He allegedly exposed himself without provocation and then urinated on a rack of candy. In case that didn't come out.
What kind of candy was that? Jujubes?
I got absolutely nothing. Just hard candy. Just those little, like the grandmother candy.
Yeah. The little strawberries with the weird gel in the middle of them.
Mm-hmm. Werther's Originals. Yeah. Soft peppermints.
What are the almonds? Candied almonds or whatever they're called. What are those called?
So he exposes himself, urinates on some hard candy.
So he was exposing himself while urinating. He didn't just like whip out and, like helicopter around the building.
I mean, it didn't say that, but I mean, honestly, I'm not sure, but I think it was just all part of the urinating. But then he like just casually like zips up, strolls out of the store, walks down the road.
He's done. He just needed to go in somewhere and couldn't make it to the bathroom.
He pleaded no contest to charges of misdemeanor criminal mischief and was fined $500.
What? Only $500? Maybe they were like, what is he doing? I can't see what is that? I can't tell what that is. Okay.
I mean, here's the thing. He's clearly mentally ill.
Yeah.
I mean, he's loaded with money.
Yeah.
And shoplifting.
And has gotten out of so much stuff.
Urinating in public over a rack of candy in the middle of a drugstore. Like, he's murdered and dismembered a man. Like, he's very clearly not well.
Yeah.
And this is where
No, we're shifting. We're
All right,
shifting.
let's get ready for this.
Okay, we're on the edge of our seat.
I've talked about this before because I get really irritated by it. But you know, like I have a family member who is deeply mentally ill.
Yes, yeah.
And there is no help for her.
Yeah, there's no breaking through that.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, there's just not even anywhere for her to go.
Yeah.
She has no, like, there's waiting lists to get any kind of drug treatment programs.
She's probably already, like, just gotten herself kicked out of places that were willing to help her.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
No insurance, no money, has burned all her bridges. Everyone's,
friends, everything, business. Yeah.
And it's just like, there's nowhere for her to go unless, I mean, she can't, you know, be in jail forever. She's not, but that's what I mean. It will take a major disaster. It will take someone getting seriously harmed. It could be her. It could be another person. It could be a whole group of people.
Yeah.
But it will take a major catastrophe
for somebody to be like, oh,
for her to get help. Right. Otherwise, there's just nowhere for her. And that is such a problem in our system that, like, there's nowhere for this type of mentally ill person to go.
Yeah.
They're a danger to themselves and to others.
Yep.
But they are functioning. They're able to pretty much take care of themselves, even if they make terrible decisions.
Yeah. And they'll get put in our local mental health hospital for
what, a 3-day hold?
Yeah, 72 hours, and then they medicate them there, but then they're responsible for their own welfare.
They won't
after that, and it's just they stop taking it. They don't go to pick up their prescriptions. They just, Tyler and I talk about this all the time with, like, our homeless community here. Like, there's
nowhere to go.
No, there's a shelter, but they're not helping.
No,
like what?
And even if you get your medicine. If you get medicine and you want to take it, how do you go get it filled? Like, you could probably get it taken care of for free, so the money...
Well, those good RX cards are great, but they don't know to do that, or they're so high that they stop doing it, and they don't realize that they still need it, and then we're on to the next.
It's just so frustrating. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, this man is clearly...
mentally ill.
Oh, my God. But there's nothing to do except wait.
No. Like, you can't...
So,
also, how do you, like, help someone who refuses to help themselves so many times?
Oh, yeah, and will fight you every opportunity.
Yes. Yeah.
In early 2015, HBO released a 6-part documentary called The Jinx, The Life and Deaths of Robert Durst.
Yes.
It detailed the disappearance of Kathleen Durst, the death of Susan Berman, and the killing of Morris Black. Although his lawyers and the wife told him not to do this, Robert gave a number of interviews.
He did. He really did. He hammed it up.
And unrestricted access to his personal records to the filmmakers.
Yep.
When the documentary aired, Deborah, you know, the wife, stopped speaking to Robert. And then it was like, she started to distance herself from him. And I'm like, how could she possibly distance herself anymore than she already is?
Like, how did we get to this point?
I don't know. So she began to distance herself from him and his affairs, legal and otherwise. And the documentary seemed to seal the deal as far as, like, her cutting him off, although she seems to technically still be married to him.
Yeah, it's all financial.
There's this whole weird story that comes out over the next several years where it's like she's technically married to Robert, but she lives with this other guy, and that guy calls her his wife. And even when that guy dies, she's listed as his wife in the obituary. She had to call the newspaper and be like, hey, I'm not actually his wife. Can you retract that? And they did.
What?
And it's just bizarre. Like, from what I can tell, she's still married to Robert Durst. It has to be a financial arrangement.
Yeah.
He said he wants her to have his inheritance. But I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Why did he choose her? Why is this happening? What?
Yeah, how did we get here?
I don't know. So the documentary... The Jinx ends with Durst moving into a bathroom, and his microphone was still live.
Yes.
And he didn't know it because he's not
He's
okay.
Yeah.
And so the microphone records him saying to himself, there it is, you're caught.
Yep.
In that voice. You're right, of course, but you can't imagine. Arrest him. I don't know what's in the house. Oh, I want this. What a disaster. He was right. I was wrong. And the burping. I'm having difficulty with the question. What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course.
Doesn't that sound like schizophrenia?
In 2019, we learned that the filmmakers altered the sequence of Durst's comments.
Right.
So it's not that he made all the comments, but they switched the order around.
Yeah.
Increasing the apparent severity of his musings in the bathroom, which is crappy.
It is.
Crappy. You're making a documentary. Don't be misleading.
Don't change it. Yeah.
There's no reason to be misleading. Like, good Lord.
He said these things. He said them. Just put them how they are. Like,
why did you need to make it worse?
Yeah.
Anyway, it just annoys me. Like, just to be...
Just to look more.
Yeah. Okay, on March 14th, 2015, the FBI arrested Robert Durst for first-degree murder in relation to Susan Berman's death on the same day as the final episode of the Jinx was released, which feels like a brilliant marketing move.
Uh-huh.
And I really hope it wasn't intentional.
Right. Or maybe they just like caught wind of everything and were like,
maybe so.
We've been taping it, like we've been tracking him and all this stuff and listening, and now we've heard all this, so let's go.
So they arrested him at a Marriott in New Orleans, where he was staying under the name Everett Ward.
Yep.
He'd driven to New Orleans from Houston 4 days earlier, and he'd been observed wandering around the hotel lobby, mumbling to himself.
Yep.
At the time of his arrest, the FBI estimated Durst's net worth at approximately $100 million. I don't even know what that...
What does that look like?
Like, what do you do with that kind of money?
Obviously nothing. Yeah. He steals sandwiches.
Chicken salad sandwiches. A subsequent search of Robert's car and hotel room led to the finding of a loaded revolver with 4 live rounds and 1 spent shell casing, 5 ounces of marijuana,
of course,
Durst's birth certificate and passport,
maps
of Louisiana, Florida, and Cuba, a flesh-tone latex mask, the fake Texas ID. I know, it's just nightmare fuel. The fake Texas ID he'd used to check into the hotel, a new cell phone, and $42,631 in cash.
He added to that $37,000. Just increased his profits there.
Because he's not spending any money on chicken salad sandwiches. They also found a UPS tracking number, which led to a package he'd sent a friend in New York containing a pair of shoes and another $117,000 in cash. I don't know who the friend was.
Yeah.
They believe that Robert was planning to flee to Cuba after the Jinx aired. So, he was charged with murder in California, but arrested in New Orleans. There's this whole thing. Louisiana takes the opportunity to come at him with some weapons charges because he's a felon in possession of weapons.
Right.
There's a lot of piece of the boring legal back and forth. Yeah, everybody just wants to get him. He ends up pleading guilty to that in February of 2016 and gets an 85-month jail sentence, which is like 7 years. And so he first goes to prison in Terre Haute, Indiana. I don't know if I'm saying it right. And then he ends up going to jail in Los Angeles while he awaits trial for Susan Berman's murder. Yeah.
Okay.
So later that year, in 2016, Kathleen Durst's family asked to have her declared legally dead, and this request was granted in 2017. Her mother tried to sue Robert, accusing him of killing her daughter, but this was unsuccessful. Then her sister Mary, who also believes Durst murdered her, and another one of her sisters, Carol, also brought a wrongful death suit against Robert, but it was dismissed on the grounds that she had waited too long to file the suit. I mean, she was not declared legally dead till 2017.
Right. So what? What?
Neither of Kathy's parents are still living today.
Okay.
In 2018, Kathleen Durst's date of death was revised to match the day she actually disappeared.
Okay.
In January of 1982. So now we're up to 2020.
Right. We're getting so close to it.
And Robert Durst is supposed to go to trial for the murder of Susan Berman. He pleads not guilty. The trial is delayed due to COVID and got pushed to 2021. In May 2021, his attorneys filed a motion to delay the trial indefinitely because Robert had bladder cancer and they wanted him to be released on bail so he could receive medical treatment that was not currently being provided. But the judge was like, nope, no. And the trial resumed on May 17th, 2021. That same day, New York investigators announced that Kathleen Durst's disappearance was being reclassified as a murder and would be reinvestigated. I do want to say, before the actual trial began, they had a bunch of pretrial stuff and evidentiary hearings. Remember that note that was sent to the Beverly Hills Police Department after Susan Berman died? And it alerted them to a cadaver at her address. During those hearings, Durst's attorney admitted that Robert Durst wrote that note.
Oh,
He'd always denied writing it before.
Right.
And now their story is that he got scared because he'd gone by Susan's house, saw her body, panicked, and wrote the letter and sent it to the police so they'd find her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Same. That's my same reaction. During the filming of the Jinx, Durst told the filmmakers that the person who wrote the cadaver note was taking a big risk because it was something that, quote, only the killer could have written. He told his godson, Howard Altman, quote, the person who wrote the note killed her. However, in August of 2019, Durst's attorneys argued what the note demonstrates is that the person who mailed it was aware there was a body at the house, not that they had murdered Susan. Correct. Another thing that came out during trial, in case you're wondering why Durst would have murdered the woman who was described as his best friend.
Right.
And she in turn referred to him as Bobby, wonderful Bobby. Susan's de facto stepdaughter, Mela Kaufman, testified that when she was a teenager, Susan had admitted to her that she had helped Robert with his alibi after Kathleen disappeared in 1982. Mela said that she and Susan had been heading home from the UCLA library when Susan told Mela about how her friend Robert's wife had disappeared and that she had made a phone call for him so that it wasn't suspicious. So do you remember that phone call that was made to the med school to say, hey, this is Kathy, I'm sick, I'm not going to be there today? We assume that's the call that was actually Susan Berman.
Right.
So this call was a critical point in the investigation because it led police to believe that Kathleen had made it back to Manhattan after leaving Robert at the Lake Cottage that night. So I assume that Susan went to their apartment and made the call from their apartment. And it's kind of like, well, there's this call. It's a woman and it's from their apartment. It had to have been Kathy.
Yeah.
Which may also be why they never searched that cottage.
Right.
Because they were like, well, she clearly made it back.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Remember, they've been friends for years and years. Like, good friends.
Right. Yes.
Bobby adored Susan, a friend said. She was his Holly Golightly.
Oh, I love Holly.
I do too. Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh gosh, it's one of my favorites.
And he just murdered her.
All I can think of is Cat. Cat.
I just can't. I mean, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. She'd been friends with him forever, had done so much for him.
And you think like it may have been just like one tiny thing that he was just like, I can't. I'm done.
When that investigation reopened, and when he learned about it in October and she was dead in December. I mean, yeah. So during this trial, they made several attempts to get a mistrial. The defense did. Durst was on record saying he planned to fake dementia or get a mistrial due to COVID.
Right.
He truly was in bad health, but he seemed to use that a lot to delay things and try to get out of things. And the judge just wasn't having it.
Yeah.
So during the trial, there was a lot of testimony about Kathleen Durst's disappearance.
Okay.
Because basically, for Robert to have murdered Susan in order to keep her quiet, it requires us to also believe that he definitely murdered Kathleen. Yeah. Which hadn't been proven.
Right.
And it hadn't even been proven that Kathleen was murdered, period.
Yeah.
So Robert tried to paint a picture of Kathy as a struggling student, failing out of school, developing a drug problem. He testified that when the school called him saying she hadn't been to class, he figured it was due to drug use and that she was probably out somewhere having fun.
Oh my gosh.
It hadn't occurred to me.
But dude, you cut her off from all your finances. How is she out having fun? She didn't have any money.
He said, it hadn't occurred to me that anything had happened to her. It was more like, what had Kathy done to Kathy? What? You piece of crap.
What?
What had Kathy done to Kathy? This is disputed by the people who were in class with her at the time.
Yeah.
They're like, no. She sat at the front of the class.
Yeah.
She was doing well. She wasn't flunking out. None of that. On September 17th, 2021, so just a few months ago, Robert Durst was found guilty in the murder of Susan Berman and sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Yep.
On November 1st, 2021, Robert was officially indicted for second-degree murder of his first wife, Kathleen McCormack Durst. Finally.
They did it.
So I've basically focused this whole thing on the murders that we're pretty confident that Robert committed. Yes. The alleged murder of Kathleen McCormack Durst, the murder of Susan Berman, and the self-defense murder of Morris Black. Right. But there were other things too. Police have looked at connections between Durst and the disappearances of other young women. So let's briefly take a look at those.
Yep.
18-year-old Lynn Schultz disappeared from Middlebury, Vermont on December 10th of 1971. She had visited Robert's health food store that day and was last seen near a bus stop across from the store. Then there's 16-year-old Karen Mitchell, who I covered in episode 100, our Thanksgiving episode. She vanished from Eureka, California on November 25th, 1997. And according to investigative journalist Matt Birkbeck, credit card records placed Durst in Eureka on the day Karen disappeared. It also seems that Durst visited a homeless shelter where Karen volunteered, and an eyewitness thinks he saw Karen talking to a man who resembles Robert Durst.
Yep. Yeah, the car and everything.
18-year-old Kristen Modafferi disappeared from San Francisco on June 23rd, 1997. Kristen was last seen walking with a blonde woman, and as we know, Robert was known to sometimes wear women's clothing, and he did live in San Francisco at the time. Still, that seems to be the only things that link him to her disappearance. So of these three, this one seems the most loosely tied to him. Right. But at this point, I believe you told me, so sure, could have been. The FBI also looked into Durst in connection to the Long Island serial murders because some of those victims were disposed of in the same way that Morris Black's body was disposed of.
Just no receipts this time.
Right. And ultimately, they couldn't connect him to those. The FBI created an informal task force in 2012 to work with investigators in jurisdictions where we know Robert lived, including New York, Vermont, and California. They asked police to re-examine cold cases in those areas. A private investigator in Texas has also traced Durst to operating under stolen identities in Texas, Florida, Massachusetts, New Jersey, South Carolina, Mississippi, and Virginia.
Jeez.
He used multiple aliases over the years, using different identities to buy cars, rent apartments, travel, and open credit cards. He had unlimited amounts of money.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. What did he need? Like, if he was trying to hide, so obviously he wasn't smart about it, but if he was trying to hide so bad, he didn't need credit cards. He just had an abundance of cash.
Yeah. A former office employee of Durst said that he had a scanner, copier, and laminating machine, all of which could be used to create his fake IDs. He was also a prolific user of private mailboxes and apparently conducted business under a number of names that are related to like canine themed names. Woofing LLC, Woof Woof LLC, and Igor Fayette Inc. Yes. So the Igor thing, if you're like, why is that canine related? Here's why. This is the weirdest.
I can't wait.
It's such a weird story. I
don't remember this. Yeah.
According to Douglas Durst, back in the early 1980s, Robert Durst owned a series of dogs, all of which he named Igor. He just kept getting dogs and naming them Igor. And they all died in mysterious ways. So Douglas now says that he believes that Robert was practicing killing and disposing of the dogs to prepare to murder Kathleen.
No.
Robert was once recorded saying he wants to Igor Douglas. And Robert, of course, disputes this whole thing. He just says he had some dogs named Igor and they died. Like, I don't know. He just doesn't say. He's like, no, that's not true. I don't believe anything Robert Durst says. I'm not sure about Douglas Durst either, though, honestly, you guys.
Yeah.
So here's where we are right now. Robert Durst was convicted of Susan's murder. He plans to appeal that conviction. But the attorney who represented him through these multiple trials, including the Morris Black trial where he was acquitted, is no longer representing him.
Okay.
And he hasn't been able to meet with a new lawyer to handle his appeal because he's been so sick. He's currently at the California Healthcare Facility, which is like its proper name, even though it sounds generic. It's actually just called California Healthcare Facility.
Is it like a federal medical detention center? Okay.
The facility cares for the state's sickest incarcerated men.
Okay.
Robert is battling bladder cancer, among other things, and he's been there since October 27th. A week ago, like literally a week ago, his condition was upgraded from serious to fair, which seems like an improvement. Depending on your perspective, I have no idea. Do we want him to? I don't know. Yeah. I'd like him to improve so that he could go to trial for Kathleen's murder.
Yeah.
But also, I don't necessarily think the world would be worse if he passed away.
All good
terrible.
Things,
Is that
all
terrible?
Good things.
So, remember his wife, she has power of attorney and medical proxy, but no one has provided any information about his current medical condition to her.
Oh.
So, like, she hasn't met with an attorney for him either. Kathleen McCormack's family, of course, has a lot of questions about why it took 40 years for Robert to be charged with murder. They've accused the Durst family of a cover-up, essentially pressuring investigators to look the other way. And they say that the Manhattan and Westchester district attorney's offices appear to have protected Robert Durst for decades, while the NYPD failed to conduct a competent investigation. Jim McCormack, Kathy's brother, called it prosecutorial cowardice, misconduct, and corruption. A lawyer for the family says they intend to start releasing evidence of this cover-up soon. They're coming to get us right now?
Something's happening. They heard us talking and they said, no, ma'am.
We're wrapping this up right now, but I did want to tell you that one thing that Kathleen's family has brought up is that in 2003, Douglas Durst allegedly had a meeting with the Westchester DA at the time, Jeanine Pirro, who is currently the host of Justice with Jeanine on Fox News. And then I put LOL. They met at a restaurant, and around that time, Pirro's mentor, former New York Governor George Pataki, got about $400,000 in campaign contributions from Douglas Durst and the Durst organization. Allegedly, after that lunch, Pirro chose to drop the renewed probe into Kathleen Durst's murder. The family would like that decision to be examined.
Well, yeah, we would as well.
And Douglas Durst says that these accusations are conspiracy theories. And that's all.
And that's all,
where we are as of this moment. They have not released any more evidence about the cover-up. Robert's still in the hospital, and I have no information on when he might actually go to trial for Kathleen's murder. I imagine they're waiting to see about his health, because it may all be a moot point. It might be a cow's opinion, you know. It's moo.
It's moo.
Yeah. So how you feeling, Kara?
I just, really just don't like this person at all. No.
God, it's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable.
It really is.
That he was able to operate for so long. And also, those are just the ones we know about.
Well, that's what I was that's exactly what was going to come out of my mouth. There could be hundreds more.
So many unsolved murders that could be him.
That he traveled the world.
The access he has, the opportunity,
it's
the means.
It's like he was Dexter. He just had facilities set up everywhere to where he could just do whatever he wanted, and nobody questioned him because he was a businessman and he had a lot of money.
And in 2003, if what Kathleen's family is saying is true, allegedly, opinion, whatever. Yes. I mean, did they stop the investigation? Did they, for what? Embarrassment to the family?
Exactly.
You as his family, if you did that, allegedly, opinion, you know how dangerous he is.
Right.
They got
restraining orders against him.
Yeah, I really hope that's not true.
That he was stalking his brother in his brother's driveway with an armed, he was just
and a
loaded weapon.
Every law enforcement agency that dealt with him over the years. How did you not see the mental illness? How did you not? Or did you, and you were just like, well, nothing we can do.
There's not
a lot we can do. Yeah, he's a Durst. He's got millions of dollars.
He's up to no good these days.
Yeah, so that's it. He fascinates me in the way that Israel Keys fascinates me.
Exactly.
Because of the potential for the prolific amount of murders he could have committed.
Yeah.
And we probably
never know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, guys, this was the 2-part series. This is part 2.
Yep. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, you all are amazing. And
yeah, we love you.
We're going to hit you up on Tuesday with the side piece.
You can find, if you'd like to contact us, you can reach us. All of the ways to contact us are in the show notes.
Yep.
We would love for you to join the Facebook group. We'd love for you to join the Patreon. We'd also just love for you to keep listening.
We just love you.
In whatever way you want.
You being you.
Yeah, you're the best.
Yeah.
Okay, we love you
so much.
Goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye.